Hello and welcome, foolish mortals, to yet another episode of Distry. Just have to wait for my ghost host, or I should say my ghost co-host. All right, sweet. That's on. Perfect. Good evening. How's everybody doing? Are we feeling a little Haunted Mansion-y? I feel like we are. We're already on to part 3 of our endless episodes of the Haunted Mansion, but tonight is a good one because we're actually going inside the Haunted Mansion. Hey, what's happening, Britt? What is up, everybody? Kelsey, how are you? Kaya, Bet, how are you? What is going on? Cheryl, Ellis, how are you, dude? All right, invite. Hello.
Hello.
So,
Happy Friday.
fit check. I have to show you. I got some new duds, some new Haunted Mansion duds. First off, do you see this print on this bad boy? That's like perfect
Wow.
Haunted Mansion purple. Oh, it's just $4 from Goodwill. Or
That's amazing.
oh yeah, dude. I was like, I can wear a T-shirt in Florida in like September or October and throw this little vestie on top, and I'll be very Haunted Mansion-y. Just got to layer it with something black underneath. But the real coup de grace would be this Ghost Host Haunted
What?
Mansion wallpaper spirit jersey.
Oh, I want that.
So
I'm not jealous at all.
heads up, you can only get them resale online on eBay, and it was they go for like $200, but I found this one for $100, and they were
What?
offering I could offer, and I offered 80, and they took it. That was a steal,
Dang,
and it
that's
glows in the
great.
dark supposedly. Yeah. So here I
That's
am.
great.
Go. I figured, in honor of actually getting inside of the mansion and talking about a ghost host, this would be a perfect time to wear the spirit jersey.
Brilliant. Yeah, I'm rocking my same one from last week. I do have like two more Haunted Mansion outfits, but they're not clean. So next week
Mm-hmm.
maybe we'll get a new one. So
Yeah, I'm
uh
not gonna lie. I have not owned a spirit jersey in my life until 2 weeks ago, and now I own three. So, needless to say, I think I have an addictive personality when it comes to things.
someone in my chat says they have the Isabel says she has the same Haunted Mansion shirt. So you're not the only one.
Well, yeah, well, there's always room for one more. All right, let me start it up.
Oh,
Welcome everyone tonight to yet again another episode. I believe we're on episode 4 of
I think so.
the entirety of Distry, and of course, my second star to my right would be Kate, or as we call her, the Disney Cicerone. She is the smartest person I know when it comes to Disney parks history. So not only am I excited to share the things that I know about the Haunted Mansion today, but I am really excited to hear what Kate has to the conversation. So, Kate, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing good. It's been really unseasonably cold where I'm at, and it's been snowing and things. So
Oh my
I'm not really crazy.
yeah, in Florida, I wish I could empathize, but it was a balmy 87 today, so yeah.
I think we almost reached 60 degrees. It's really cold.
Yeah. Hello
I need
everybody.
it.
Good night, Pocket Fam. How's everybody doing? Yeah, that's a little bit too much for me. Although this morning it was 72 and I had a hoodie on like it was like 40 out. So
You're such a baby with the cold. Just saying.
yes, I really have. So, okay, where have we left off so far? Well, if you remember, last week was the amazing musical talents of your hubby, Elliot, was showing us how dissonance and the selection of how they constructed the music gives you like an eerie feeling in the Haunted Mansion. And as a result, we went all the way up to the front door. So we're almost in the mansion, and right now we're hinges creak. Let's creak them. So you ready to get inside the mansion?
Yes, I'm so excited. This is like one of my favorite parts of the mansion. And the so we're going in the foyer, but to back it up just ever slightly, because we did talk about the outside of the mansion and how it's constructed. Um, the way we enter the mansion, if you remember from previous episode, is we go through the side. Especially in Florida, it's very, very obvious that you're going in the side entrance, or like the social entrance. So you're going under that canopy, and it's what the porte cochere, I believe, is what it's called. But you go in the side of the house, and that actually allows you to walk around the house and get that like ominous feeling of the house looming over you with almost like its two arms. In the Disneyland version, it's a little bit different because you go and you walk around the house, where you kind of like see the house from afar, like the long shot, right, as they call the cinematic world, because you remember all the people that designed these rides were filmmakers. So you had the long shot of the house, and then you slowly kind of creep up to it, and then you have the close up shot where you're really close to the house, but you're not in it yet. So you kind of get the ominous feel of walking around the house. But you don't go in the front door. Neither ride you go in the front door. You actually pass the front door in Disneyland, and you go in this weird little side door, which I believe they say it's for guests to enter through. I'm not really sure why you don't go in the front door proper. I think Disneyland Paris is the only one where you actually go in the front door, but all the other haunted mansions you don't. So sorry, I just did a lot of talking there, but
No. Yeah. We like to sidestep things here, and you say that the Haunted Mansion in Florida looms with its arms wide open in a scary way. I think of it like a warm embrace, like a little hug. So I feel so warm and comfortable when I see the front of that mansion.
I mean, I do love the mansion, so don't get me wrong, but it is supposed to be somewhat scary, right? It's haunted mansion, it's supposed to be that. So, um, I anyway, so we go in the foyer, and um, I read something really interesting that said that the reason the Florida one is positioned the way it is because of it needs to be dark, and that Florida gets like so much sunshine. If it was facing a different direction, you'd get like bright morning sun or bright after, like, so it's kind of like in that alcove under the building, specifically so that it's dark and disorienting when you walk in the foyer.
Which happens quite a bit in the sense of dark and disorienting is kind of the name of the game when it comes to all things mansion. I am going to unplug for a second so that we can do pictures, because what's worth more than being able to see what we're actually talking about? So your changing portrait, is it any different than the one in Florida?
Here's the thing, we don't have one. So there's like a very, very critical difference for
What?
it. Yeah, Disneyland is very, very different for you than Florida. Florida has the aging man. It has the cobwebs on the chandelier. I was going to try to show, like, our chandelier does not have any cobwebs. In fact, there is no sign in our foyer whatsoever that, this is kind of walking into it, that it is haunted or scary. There is literally nothing. You just kind of walking into a house, and it actually looks pretty nice. I mean, the lights are like flickering, but that was of the times.
Sure.
And so there is no aging man, there is no scary things, and so it is but the chandelier itself has six crystals, and has six, it's like 666. If you look up at the chandelier, it actually has six crystals on one layer, and six candles, and six things, so it's like a layered 666. That's like that, and there's a spider web on the floor that kind of denotes kind of an eeriness to it. I'm trying to see if I can find a photo. I don't think I have one. I don't think I have a photo, but and the wallpaper itself is actually a Victorian wallpaper versus like anything that was designed like in a spooky way. So yes, so you have the aging man, which is,
So I might as well talk about the aging man.
yeah,
So
go for
ready
it.
here. I'm a big Hidden Mickey fan. If you want to see a Hidden Mickey, they are all around the edge. You see this border in the center? So like this little section right here that almost looks like a little ribbon. I know I'm like
Oh yeah.
ultra zoom here. They are all upside down Hidden Mickeys that go all the way around the portrait. So you got to get up close to see it. But let's talk about the aging man and the significance. So for us, and there is actually a historical significance that is canon. So we talk many times about the Haunted Mansion having very convoluted storylines because so many Imagineers were designing. But to make things even more confusing, guests and cast members have created their own storylines as well. We're not going to confuse you, and I'm going to just stick to canon when we get into the stretching room. If you want to elaborate further on other stories, you can for the portraits, because there are elaborate cast member design stories. But this was designed specifically for the Master Gracey. This is actually canon. So Master Gracey out in the graveyard scene was for Yale Gracey, the Imagineer. However, he is not our ghost host, which we will get into a little bit further as we start to now hear his wonderful melodic baritone voice. But this is actually not the owner of the mansion or the ghost host, but this is Master Gracey. And this was canonized by Imagineers back in 2006. They were very pro using this as a storyline. Now, why is this significant? Well, the way it was designed, this portrait was to be a changing portrait of a very handsome man that turns extremely ugly. Well, this was based off of the Oscar Wilde book or novella, because it was a little bit shorter, called The Picture of Dorian Gray. Now, I'm going to flip this around real quick. And you notice that guy was pretty handsome. And then on that portrait, it was decaying. And I love the way that Wikipedia summarizes this. So I'm just going to read this very briefly because I think it does a really nice job. So the story revolves around the portrait of Dorian Gray, painted by Basil Hallward, a friend of Dorian's and an artist infatuated with Dorian's beauty. Though Basil, Dorian meets Lord Henry Wotton and is soon enthralled by the aristocrat's hedonistic worldview that beauty and sensual fulfillment are the only things worth pursuing in life. Newly understanding that his beauty will fade, Dorian expresses his desire to sell his soul to the devil. And in that picture, rather than he will fade in age. This wish does get granted, and Dorian pursues a libertine life of varied amoral experiences while staying young and beautiful. All the while, his portrait ages and visually records every one of Dorian's sins. It's just beautifully written. I don't know who wrote that, but nicely done.
It's really interesting because it has the aging man portrait really has so many of the themes that we see in the Haunted Mansion. It hints at that. It's actually surprising that they never put it into the Disneyland one. Maybe they will eventually, but it has the illusion versus reality, like the illusion of youth versus the the reality of us all getting older, right? It's got the youth versus antiquity, it's got life versus death, it's got like all of the themes in the mansion kind of rolled into this one thing. And like, even if I don't know if you can see it in this, I do have a photo, kind of a wide angle of what your foyer looks like, and you can see all of the cobwebs up there and whatnot. But in the grate too, I don't know if you can see it, but there's actually a face in the grate too that's a menacing face.
Wait, what grate am I looking at? Can you point?
The fireplace. I want to see if I can zoom in on this.
There's a face in there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it has eyes. See?
Dude. See, yeah. This is why you hang out with Kate. You'll learn a thing or two. Now okay. I'm going to be staring at fire. Welcome to my life. That's tremendous. I love that. Very ominous. I always notice the coloration. But you know what the biggest problem with being able to see up close to something like that is the portrait is elevated. That grate is on the ground. And unless I'm rope dropping Haunted Mansion, there are so many people crammed in there. You don't get that awesome view. And in fact, you miss a lot of things if you're not the last person into a space, which we'll talk later during the stretching room. Ooh, which is such a fun little thing. So
there's so many things.
Yeah.
I have interesting things about the aging man. So I actually have this really cool picture of what's behind the aging man. this is what used to be there. It still kind of is there, but this when they originally installed it, it was had 8 glass slides and 2 rotating carousels, and then they had alternating lamps inside the projector that would project the images. And because the room was so small that projector is in, they had to use a mirror to project it onto the scrim. And then you can see this is on the other side. So that's actually, if you see a door when you exit out of the stretching room, there's a door that is between the 2 exits, and that is actually the door to this room that has this projector. No. So this they replaced the projector with a digital one in 2007, I think. So it's no longer it used to be like all the slides would make it, like I think is in our book here. They would have
show off this book real quick, because that certainly looks like a diagram from Boundless Realm. And that, would that be accurate?
Oh, it sure is.
So this is a new. So I've been pulling a lot of my data from this book, which Kate turned me on to, The Haunted Mansion: Imagineering a Disney Classic by Jason Searle. But this is the new hotness. It's the Boundless Realm by Fox Nolte or Nolte. Nolte?
I don't, probably Nolte. I'm not sure, but it's 10 out of 10.
And
we like haunted history. It's a great one.
Yeah. I am really into that one. And we did put that in our Discord as well. So walruscarp.com/links. Second thing, we have kind of a way for you to look back not only on these, because they showcase on YouTube, but also some of the research points. We'll drop those links in there as well. So, yep.
Thank you, Jack. So the interesting thing is when they put that digital projector in, they didn't, when they made the portrait, they didn't account for the mirror reflecting the image, and so the aging man is actually backwards now than what he used to be.
He reversed because he was in the one way, the mirror would flip it. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so he's backwards than how he used to be after they put the digital.
I wonder if that change. You know how perspective changes everything, right? So here are these 6 slides too, and you know what? And you know what's great about this? This is how he actually looks, because technically this is getting through a mirror on our side. So you're very handsome, getting a little older, just a little older. You know what's kind of interesting though too, right? Is like now is where he starts really, really showing not only age, but the tattering on his suit, you know?
Yeah. Like the
I don't know how you really kind of show I mean, he's still alive, and you would look at this portrait and be like, yeah, okay, he clearly is, something's going on. But like, how do you portray sin within a portrait without showing any of the sins that occurred? I never read the novella, but I'm certainly curious now enough, and I'm sure it's not all too terribly long.
I know I'm going to be reading some Oscar Wilde soon. That's my next read, right?
Yeah, why not? Why not?
So great. Yeah, I wish I had a really great picture of the floor in the Disneyland version, because it does have that spider web kind of motif to it. I don't have one on me. I don't think there's one in here. But for the foyer, the other thing about the foyer is that they were going to have a narration by Paul Frees. Well, they do have one by Paul Frees, I should say. Sorry. They were actually going to have it delivered by a marble bust. I think that's in our book as well. But people were so distracted. Like, I think it's here.
Here is the...
Yeah, we both got it. So they were going to have it delivered by a marble bust. But they found that people were so distracted because they're so disoriented walking into that really confusing space that they just decided to they just nixed it. Instead, they just have Paul Frees speaking the narration that, wherever candlelights flicker, where the air is deathly still, what we're used to hearing. And
come on, that's the best you can do. Come on, give me. You have such like honey in your voice, and you do those amazing narrations, and you're just gonna blow through like the most. Just be like, it's like, when hinges, whatever, you know what I mean? In Doorless something.
You want me to try again? Is that what you're saying? Is that subtle hint to try?
Better.
Whenever candlelights flicker, where the air is deathly still, that is the time when ghosts are present, practicing their terror with ghoulish delight.
Love. See,
Better?
now you get it the way that a proper haunted mansion maid should. So lovely.
Thank you. Um, so now I'm like totally derailed. Thanks for that. Uh, so at the
Don't
end
be
of the narration,
derailed. We're in the foyer, which is very disorienting. Also, remember that our foyer, for the most part, it depends on the sequencing of whether or not a stretching room just has opened up or not. There sometimes is a period where you cannot move from that room, and it's not until a
yeah,
sliding door opens up, and then of course brings us into: are we ready to go to the stretching room? I mean, it's only
well,
been
I gotta say something about the
still
doors.
haven't gotten through another room. I love this.
Okay. Well, before we do, so the end of the narration is what triggers the opening of the door, but they're not the same in Disneyland and Disney World. So I have actually a picture of that. Like this is how intricate we're getting, right? The doors themselves, right? Okay. So Disneyland is like
Found
an elevator door
Oh my gosh.
that yeah, this is like Disneyland, the elevator door, whereas this one is more disconcerting because it's like a secret tunnel, right? In Magic Kingdom, where the whole panel slides open. Whereas
Yeah.
so this is like a little bit more expected. You can really see this, but this one is so hard to see in Magic Kingdom where it just really kind of takes people by
Well,
surprise and they're like,
there's no
whoa.
seam. Yeah, there's no seam like right down the middle, and where it makes it more obvious that there are doors. For ours, though, yeah, I get that almost vibe of like you pull a book or those old Scooby Doo, you know, grab like a handle, pull it down, and which is very disorienting in general because like who walks through doors like that? Like anytime that they have an opportunity to disorient you within the mansion. This is going to be a thematic throughout. They do it and they take it. They do it really nicely in the next room. That's really cool. I
Yeah.
never realized that the Disneyland one was versus a.
Yeah. And I'll pause here and say if you guys have questions, please
Mm,
ask your questions and we'll pause as we go through these rooms. We'll pause after the room and absolutely answer any questions you guys have because we are seeing your guys' comments. We have two different chats, so I don't see
yeah.
Kirk's.
So,
He doesn't see
so
mine.
Terminator asked the question: is the portrait above the fireplace and mantle? Yes, it's directly above that fireplace and mantle. And most people, their eyes when they walk into the foyer immediately goes uh, to look at this portrait. I mean, it's right over the fireplace. It's clearly in the center of the room, uh, which is kind of cool for ours because if you look right on either side are the two sliding doors because we have two stretching rooms. So in Disney World. And in Disneyland, you guys have two stretching rooms as well, correct? Yep.
Yeah, the fact that there are two stretching rooms comes from a very, very early concept where they were going to have two haunted mansions for capacity when it was a walkthrough attraction. So that's why we have two stretching rooms. It was a capacity thing from a long, long time ago that just kind of got carried forward throughout time, which actually is great because it does help with capacity and moving people through.
Yeah, I mean, you need to continue the conversations flowing and people flowing throughout all of Walt Disney World or Disneyland. It's like it's one of those things where I don't know how they tackle it in other theme parks apart from just making you wait. I
Yeah.
love themed queues. Really, really. I mean, it can if you've looked, and I think that's one of the reasons why people love Disney, and even like Universal does a really nice job, and to a certain extent, some of the other theme parks. But the wait doesn't seem as bad when they do such a nice storytelling way to showcase just all you're doing is moving through the attraction. You haven't even gotten on the ride yet. But the pre-shows,
Yeah.
and we have several pre-shows. Like I consider the queue, the external queue for both Disneyland and Disney World to be a pre-show. It's a non-verbal one, but it's there. It exists. And then we get into the actual foyer, another pre-show. Then into the stretching room, another pre-show. Then we haven't even gotten on for you guys. You have to walk a lot more than us, and you get the changing portraits, another pre-show. Then we actually get on these things and we ride dune buggies. So I'm with you guys. Yeah, there's tons of great cues in Disney. Can we explain the stretching room? Well, guess what? We're about to do it. feel like we're about to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Can we do it? Can I pull the Mark Davis picture? I feel like that's a good time to shine.
Yes.
This one, a better copy of it.
Yes.
Okay.
There's literally so much about the stretching room. I'm trying to figure out where to start. So, yeah, let's talk about where it used to be. That's a great photo of it. And you can actually see that the gargoyles that are up there are more bird-like, and that is something that happened a lot. And we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to the stanchion.
Particularly if you look at this one, like if you look at this one head on, it looks more like a gremlin or something from Ghostbusters, kind of a little bit of a vibe. This one, very feathery, bird-like beak structure. This one, tremendously beak-like bird structure.
Yeah, and that has to go with the general theme of like that Victorian era. They were the kind of like mythological what are they called, monsters of antiquity motif that there's in the Haunted Mansion with gorgons, griffins, serpents, skulls. So that was all based on that Victorian concept of monsters of antiquity, and so that's where we see this concept art.
You get some snake-like serpents up there with that monster mouth. Coincidentally, just tell me those aren't hidden Mickeys on those bat heads. It looks very hidden Mickey-like to me.
Yes,
and then of course we have very demonic and serpent-like features in the center of the room, and then there's demonic on the bottom. And this is a Mark Davis original art piece.
Yes.
Of the disquieting metamorphosis, which I'll tell you, if they made me stand in this particular room, this is way scarier than the Haunted Mansion, like what we currently have.
But yeah, you can, if you show the picture of what we actually have that's on the opposite page, you can see the still faces in the grates, which I don't think I ever noticed until I saw this photo. And I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah, because once again, it's so dark. It's so dark.
Really
How would
dark.
you see them?
Yeah.
Now, does this mirror the fireplace? Do you think this grate is the same as the fireplace grate?
Let me pull it up and see.
It looked somewhat similar, and you know how Disney is at reusing. The eyes in particular looked very similar.
I don't think it's the same, but they're similar, but they're not the same.
Okay.
This one's
see
more
that
subtle.
swirling. And this one also has more of like a bird beak structure. If you look at that center nose, also kind of looks like which one is it? Pain or was from Hercules? Doesn't it kind of look like Sidekicks?
Yeah.
Doesn't it kind of look like the whatever the red one's named? I forget what his name is, but yeah.
I don't remember either. I haven't watched
Hercules. But a lot go from this, which is super dark, skeletal, bone, to the vibrancy of the colors and that wood paneling,
But yeah, it's interesting because the stretching room is very similar between Disneyland and Florida, but they are not the same. And the main reason, which most people know about, is Disneyland has to stretch so much farther because it's an elevator that actually moves you down so that you can go in a hallway under the berm, which the railroad tracks are on, to a show building that's outside the parks. Most people know about that. And one way you can tell in Florida that you are not in an elevator, not only is because of that sliding panel, but if you look down at the floor there, you don't see the little transition stepping out of the elevator. You can see it on the floor.
It would be right here where you would see us moving, like this would actually be moving up, and it doesn't. It stays stationary, but it would be right there if we were.
Yeah,
if you want to tell further that Florida is moving, you can look right at the base of the portraits, and that's where the unrolling of the portraits, because it's basically like imagine two giant spinning, and it like unfurls it and then furls it back up, like much like a window screen would be. Or a blind.
I think I've got this one. Let me think. I think this is Disneyland. But I'm trying to remember if this is Disneyland or Disney World. This is Disneyland because it goes way farther up.
Do you want to know also how Disneyland? Your red wallpaper has a yellow strip in the center of the maroon, where ours does not. So if you look, this is Walt Disney, where I know because I did patterns for our shirts, and our shirts just happen to use the Disneyland version. Interesting. But yeah,
Just
ours
floor.
ours does not have a gold strip in the middle of the maroon, which yours does as well. But octagonal, both are octagonal, one being an elevator, Disneyland, one being an actual physical stretching room for Disney World. Both have the exact same portraits in them. And one thing I want to talk about is lighting. So, you know, why are these portraits lit like this? Like, we need to have some sort of way to describe why we have ambient light. And that's actually where the gargoyles come into play and why they're holding those candles. But also, it's a piece of the showpiece because to stretch here, the mechanics, this is actually a mantle, much like you would have a fireplace mantle or even like a little shelving piece, because the top section actually goes back further. Not only can they place the lighting components right there, but also it's to differentiate between the mechanism, which is behind this structure, which allows the stretching to occur. And the portraits like unfurl as it is stretching. So
Yeah, they unfurl from behind that wainscoting, like all the woodwork that's down below is from where they're pulled from in both versions, Florida and in California. They they come from there, but the Florida version does go stops right as the top of the portrait is let me see this one. So this one you can see it stops right there. It doesn't pull up any further. That's the top of the it just that's the as high as it goes, sorry. And then this one is you'll see this is Disneyland. It keeps going. It's actually very effective in Disneyland, not that it isn't in Disney World, but because it just keeps going and going and going. And the Disneyland one
yeah,
is actually
it's optical illusion at the top,
mm-hmm. And the ceiling is firmly in place in Disneyland and doesn't move, whereas the Florida version, it does actually stretch with it, like the whole mechanism moves. So it's a
Yeah.
difference there.
I think yours, and remember, like, even the pattern on the wall being vertical striping, they could have went horizontal or anything else, but vertical striping, not only does it make you look thin, but it makes you appear longer. So the stretching room having vertical striping pattern is important for that optical illusion as well.
Absolutely. Definitely.
I have some early photos, if we're okay with moving to portraits, of some sketches, like
Yes.
some hand drawn sketches, which I'm sure you have.
Yeah.
This is a pre tightrope sketch where I thought was really cute is that she was afraid of a mouse. So she was standing on a chair to get away from a mouse. So it's like an old school wireframe, just rough sketch. And then eventually, we see where the parasol actually lands on the left. And the other one is like standing on like almost like a Capitol building, like up in the clouds, which I'd never seen that version before as
Yeah,
well.
I mean, well, it's interesting from a female perspective that they changed it from her being scared of a mouse to being like nonchalant about a crocodile or an alligator, which whatever it is. She's like, whatever.
Yeah. Right. So I'm
I
reading
kind of
Jackie's.
appreciate that.
Yeah, I do too. Jackie wrote in here that. So I'm gonna just answer Jackie's question. It's basically, thank you, CEO. Appreciate that little duck walk. The frames to the wall woodwork. So on Disneyland's, the frames, I mean, technically the frames are on the walls for both Disney World and Disneyland. The difference is the frames do not grow in Disneyland. They just become more exposed because the ceiling is actually stretching. However, in Disney World, here's what's interesting. Not only does the portraits extend, but the frame is extending at the same time. So if you look on the bottom of those portraits, you will actually see the frame getting pulled as well. So it's not just
you can see it in this frame. This one, you might not be able to see it in this shot. No, I don't think I got that part of it.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's one of those things where like you gotta just hang out with us at Disney World or Disneyland. I'll make sure to point it out next time we're in the stretching room, and I'll take some content of it as well so that I can showcase it on here. I know I have tons of videos of it. I just never have pointed out specifically that mechanism, which I'm sure people would be really impressed not to see it. So, and then I do have another almost finished. This is just such a gorgeous picture. with this is just done in pencil, but holy cow, like absolutely beautiful.
When they say that some places say that her name is Sally Slater, which
So
is
that's canon.
what British Fox
Yes.
poems. Yeah.
I'll go with Sally Slater being canon as a part of it. So I think we should go through each one of the portraits if you think that's appropriate. What do you think? And I can showcase them, and then we can talk about them. Since we're already on Miss Sally, I say we start there.
Okay. Yeah. So I don't have a whole lot else on her except for that I know about Sally Slater. So if you have more, go for it.
I do. So technically, all of these ghosts have their own names. In this instance, this portrait is called the Tightrope Walker. And this is canon, true. This is Sally Slater, and it was revealed in 2011 with a refurbishment of Walt Disney World's Haunted Mansion Q that there was a poetess ghost named Prudence Pock who has a poem which reads, "In the swamp, poor Sally Slater was eaten by an alligator."
What is an alligator?
And
not a crocodile. Alligator.
Not a crocodile. After a while, nay. I say nay. Well, listen, we're in Florida, at least for ours, so that is a gator. But yeah, Sally Slater and Prudence Pock was apparently a ghostess who lived in the house who wrote a poem for little Sally Slater. Now, there's a ton of other stories where, like, she was related to somebody and, you know, they got killed because of Madame Leota. We're not getting into it because it's way too confusing and it's not true. It's all just fun. It's fun, but it's not. Yeah. Shall we look at the old Dynamite Man? Where's he at?
Yes.
All right, I can't tell. Okay, I got him.
Alexander Nitrokov is his name. And it's do you have the full poem for it?
I don't.
I only have the one part that says "came to us with a bang one night." It's like the. So
the other thing is to note is that apparently he's a diplomat, and we don't know where specifically he exploded, but we do know that that was clearly where he met his demise. And what he's holding in his hand are some sort of like document papers, which I've seen multiple versions of this where they're signs versus not signs, but we're going to go with the original where it is not signs.
You know, and it's really interesting, you know, how because Disneyland takes so much longer to stretch up because they have to travel further down in the elevator. These are all designed in thirds, right? All of this, the artwork of the stretching room is designed into thirds, and so is the narration is designed into 3 parts. And so the Florida version is actually more accurately timed to the narration because when you get to that bottom portion where it's clear that they have met their fate, that's when the ghost host says, you know, or there's always my way. It's like that. It's the very end, and it matches the narration much better than the Disneyland version because of the timing of that.
So I just found the full part of the poem. An anarchist who came to us with a bang one night was a part of the original dialogue. So I am going to look for the original. This comes from the original Haunted Mansion script. So I will find this.
Is this an Exitensio one?
This is the Exitensio one where he's talking about Alexander. So I'm looking. I'll find it.
Okay. While you look for that, I'll talk about just the. Yes, let's talk about Abigail Patecleaver was her original name. Now we do call her Constance Hatchaway is kind of what she's called now, but her original name in the Exitensio script was Abigail Patecleaver, who was married to George Patecleaver, who met an end, obviously. Now it would be George Hightower is what they call him now, to match the story of Constance Hatchaway, but Abigail was her original name, as you see there. Now she's a widow, and it says she was preceded by her husband, George. So,
Yeah, and then they changed the storyline so it would fit with Constance Hatchway. And remember, this would then be our bride, our beloved bride, which she doesn't have any pearl necklaces in the portrait, but she is wearing pearls, which is significant when we get to the attic scene. So she clearly is a gal for pearls
Yeah,
through
because
and throughout.
this was made so far before the Constance Hatchaway storyline of her getting pearls with every marriage and every husband, that came much later. So this was made from the original story of Abigail Pate Cleaver. But now they say she's Constance Hatchaway, and this is how she was, like, you know, maybe after she has inherited the haunted mansion and she has her wealth and she's has her fifth husband has gone away. But obviously, she's a younger bride in the mansion itself, and that is, they say, because sometimes they, you know, you can manifest as a ghost as a way, as you were in different parts of your life, and maybe a very traumatic time in your life or something that was significant, and so she manifested as a younger version of herself, but she did actually make it to old age. So
Yeah,
we'll talk more about her later when we get to the attic. There's so much with Constance Hatchaway.
yeah, you
But
don't want to get ahead of yourself.
no. Oh man. Okay.
All right, are we moving on to the old bowler hat?
Yeah, you know what? I actually have not done a ton of research about them. Do you know much about them at all?
Well, you know, it's there isn't much about them specifically because really, it's at this point we're now talking about what cast members think. You want me to do a cast member one because we really don't
Yeah,
have.
I mean, I have not seen anything that's official, and that's why I'm like,
So
I've
this is
got nothing.
unofficial. Don't listen to this. This is not real, but we're gonna pretend it's at least something because we don't really have a lot of backstory behind them. So each one of the three quicksand men in this story is revealed to be illegitimate members of the Gracie family who were kept around as a servant by the ghost host. The man on the top was the liverman, Daniel Patterson, and was the illegitimate half brother of the ghost host, born to the host's late father and his mistress. And the man in the middle was the mansion's handyman, Asa Gilbert, who was a half brother of the ghost host's mother, the Black Widow, who was chased away by death threats. And the man on the bottom was the mansion's gardener, Eddie Foster, the illegitimate son of the ghost host's uncle, Ambassador Edward Gracie. All three men were in love with Mistress Gracie, and after her death, they all became melancholy. And so, as a result, little Leota attempted to seduce the illegitimate daughter of Madame Leota. Little Leota attempted to seduce the men, but after they were rebuked by her affections, she tricked them into getting them trapped in the mansion's quicksand pit where they all died. Fake news, but and they're how are they all illegitimate? Like everybody's illegitimate these days. This
I know
that's
that was like a Jerry Springer episode. That was that was wild.
yeah.
Oh
This
my
is
goodness.
literally the first time to fill in the. I mean, and I don't even know where the logic would dictate because if you look at the clothing, I mean, the only thing that you could say is that they were trying to impress little Leota with their finest. But you wouldn't imagine that a handyman gardener would have uh, multiple three-piece suits with Oxwayne shoes. Like, get real. All right, what
Yeah,
are we talking
no,
about? This
no,
is
I
very.
don't know. That's
It's
what
fake.
that's what.
We're not talking about.
So I have to say we kind of part that we missed when we were talking about the elevator. I'd love to just go back to that really quick because it's really important that the blueprints for the Florida version had elevators in them until 1969. In 1970, they actually changed their plans as they were building the Haunted Mansion. So that's why it was kind of built up in elevation. It's on a higher part of the park, as you can see. Like Jungle Cruise is down lower, kind of down in the, I don't know what it's called, lower elevation of the park. The Haunted Mansion was up because Florida does have a high water table. So in order to have a haunted mansion that does have the elevator in the stretching room, they would have had to have it in an upper part of the park and higher elevation, especially being next to Rivers of America, which The reason why that is speculated that it changed was that in 1970, they had 6 months after opening in Disneyland, they had water leaking into the bottom of the elevator shafts, and they had to close, and they ran some water, like green dye, through the rivers of America, and they found out that the water was coming from the rivers of America, and it was leaking into the bottom of the elevator shaft because of this depth. And so they did some patchwork, and they patched it all up so it doesn't leak anymore. But that is almost the exact same time, in February 1970, was when the accident happened in Disneyland with the elevators. And that is what we think was when they changed their plans, and they pivoted to no longer have elevators in it. Instead, you just walk on through. And the interesting thing is, those elevators were like probably still ordered by that point. They're Otis elevators. And so they put them in different parts of the park. They put them in Fantasy Fair, I believe, and they put them in the Tomorrowland Terrace. So those elevators that are in those two locations likely were originally meant for the Haunted Mansion, but never ended up going in it.
I'm trying to think where in Tomorrowland Terrace there's an elevator. It must be like a Utilidor one, or like
the stage. There was a stage, right? Isn't there? There was a stage that. That's my understanding. I know there's one in Disneyland. There's a Tomorrowland Terrace where the stage actually raises up versus like going down. But there might have been one point, but I know it moved to the Tomorrowland Terrace and was used there. So.
Well, the only thing I'm thinking is, like, I wonder if they have, it's such a massive location, if there is some sort of like storage, particularly to move food and wares, because you have Cosmic Rays and Tomorrowland being filtered almost out of the same location. Interesting. Oh, I don't know. The more you know.
So the reason why, when you walk in the room and they say, drag your bodies to the dead center of the room, the reason they say that is because it's a center-based like piston, the elevator is, and so it's to balance the elevator, is to push everybody kind of to the center so they're it's not unbalanced, and that's just to protect the mechanism of the elevator, because it's on a central piston in the middle of the elevator. That's why they ask you to do that.
In Disneyland, you can fit roughly about 90 folks going down, because it's really gravity assisted. So think of like a pneumatic piston where it's like, and that's why it's stronger going down and can manage that. It cannot lift as many people, which you got the great experience. It can do roughly about 12 people going up. Yeah. Kate had the amazing being able to ride the elevator up.
Yeah, if you're someone who needs assistance, ride EVC. I always get that wrong. The scooters. If you're riding the scooters, they do have you, basically you have to go back in the elevator and go up it in order to get out of the mansion, which makes sense. So that I was with someone who needed that assistance, and I got to ride up the elevator, which was such a cool experience, and I got it on film, and it was like the best moment ever.
Little did you know that when we go to Disneyland, Kate and I will be renting those just so we can ride up. So we did have a couple of questions. So it was, I know Pate Cleaver is the last name. What was her first name? Was it Abigail Pate Cleaver?
Abigail. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Abigail
Pate Cleaver.
Pate Cleaver, and her husband George died. You can see in that picture. He got an axe to the head. Not a great way to go, George. Sorry about that. And are they the hitchhiking ghosts? No, the hitchhiking ghosts have 3 separate different backstories, which we'll get to them when we get to the crypt or the tomb. So what else am I missing?
They look really different. Their appearance is like super different than those
Tomorrowland, like the ones for I honestly, yeah, those Astro Orbiter elevators are quite large. They are pretty big. I don't know. I'm gonna research this and talk to some mechanics, because they probably have a better understanding of it. But that's good speculation. I like where your guys are thinking. You're stinking. I like that.
Well, right. We didn't even talk about the the top of the stretching room, the
Well,
hanging.
fantastic, because I have all the top of the stretching room right here. Who would have thought that we were going to go talk about the one, the only Ghost Host, which everyone so lovingly calls Master Gracie, but it is not. His name is dun, 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 dun. We call him the Hatchet Man. I don't know if you call him something else.
No,
Okay.
Hatchet Man. Yeah,
Okay,
because he's in the portrait.
So you actually can see the Ghost Host several times throughout the attraction. So I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit. We see him playing piano. It's a shadow. We also are going to see him, and I'm going to show you this picture, in the corridor of doors. So much like my Ghost Host, the Hatchet Man, and this wallpaper logo, in that they call that the corridor of doors with all the knockers. You have the Hatchet Man is actually physically in a portrait, and that's actually the Disney World version. Yours is a lot larger.
Yeah.
I don't know if Disneyland looks more like this based on this picture. I don't know if this one's. This was from it says it still hangs in the Disneyland. So this is the Disneyland Mark Davis, and then you had the Disney World one. It is one of my favorite things to tell people is like, oh, you can actually see the Ghost Host apart from, and then of course we see him up above. So we should probably talk about that. Maybe some history.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it's interesting because of that what cupola, I think is what's called. Cupola used to be like an open one, was part of the storyline. So I love that they kept that when they moved all the stories through everything. Like it used to be like an open to the sky one.
I mean, if you look at it, it's pretty like this is like one of the first visual representations, and they called it the finale to the haunted house show. So we're being shown this so much sooner. And if you look down there, Kate, I know you're looking at that clock. That 13th hour clock shows up in the finale of the walkthrough version, where we do see our Ghost Host who is hanging. Which Ghost Host, Hatchet Man, not a lot of backstory behind him, except for that he potentially owns the manor, and obviously there's always my way, and elected to decide to leave this world on his own accord, which I do want to share that picture, but we actually can see what he looks like up there, which is pretty amazing.
Well, it's also a nod to that original story of Captain Gore as well, which we talked about a couple weeks ago, where he was so tortured by the ghost of Priscilla, who was just haunting him, that he had to find a way out. So there's elements of that too, of that original storyline from Captain Gore in this scene. And it's interesting because sometimes the Disneyland one, you can't really see it as well. And the reason is because that top there is scrim, like it's a theatrical scrim. And sometimes they only clean it a couple times a year to get the dust off of it. So if you can't see it, or it seems really obscured, it's because they haven't cleaned it in a while. It's just really dusty.
Well, I mean,
fun fact.
It is an attic. What do you expect? Yeah. Here's something I just thought about. No windows and no doors. What is that? What is that?
Well, you don't see any when he's saying that.
Yeah,
because the theatrical scrim is there.
But he's a liar, because there are windows up there. There's no doors. Well, technically there is. Well, we talk about how we get out of the stretching room, or at least what I believe is how we get out of the stretching room. And I get that from the album. But let me show you what the Ghost Host Hatchet Man looks like. So if we actually could see directly next to him, this is what you would be looking at. So it's got a face, it's got arms, he's in like an old tattered clothing.
Should be able to see it in a second.
That's what's physically hanging up there, is this dude.
So this one was the Florida version, where the Florida version has a mechanism that makes him sway back and forth. But I think the one in Disneyland is a little creepier, because it actually like twitches. You can probably see it in a second. Yeah, it does not sway. It kind of like, it's a mechanism that kind of like jerks it a little bit, which is just a little creepy, not gonna lie.
Yeah, ours definitely
He'll
looks
be there in a second. Here it comes.
ours
See?
reminds
Watch.
me.
Watch him. He's gonna jerk. He sways a little bit, but he
Oh,
jerks.
ew.
Yeah.
That's like he's really oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah. It's fairly realistic, which is
yeah.
I
Ours
don't wonder kids all scream, I get it. Like it's
I don't think kids are really looking up there that much anyway. It goes dark and they see flashes, and that's enough for them to eyes right. Where like adults are looking up, and so in ours, right? Like if you think about it, if he hung himself, and in that original concept art, it was a chair. The reason why ours swings is because he rocked himself out of the chair. And I know this is so morbid and gross, but like think about the attention to details. Like all of this is a part of telling the story. No, this is a note for me.
I know all of this is it's disturbing, and I apologize to anybody who this is a sensitive topic for, because it's honestly we're not trying to make light of it. This is obviously a very serious thing, and we'd never ever want to make light of something like that. It's just part of the story that we can't just not talk about, because it is a significant part of the story.
It is, and it does help relay us to actually getting out of this this basically encapsulated cage, which has no windows and no doors. But we do hear, and this is very important in the. And you know what? I should really have queued this up, and maybe I'll pick one out real quick and do the audio. But the audio, and I always point this out when I'm.
Oh, I have it. You talk, I'll get it.
Okay, perfect. So you actually hear a woman scream, and then smash and shatter. According to the radio, or not the radio, the vinyl version is a woman is so scared and petrified from seeing the ghost host that she runs straight through the wall, and that's your exit. Is this woman was strong enough to blast herself through the wall because she was so scared.
Yeah, I don't have the audio. I have the audio of the whispering. That's what I've got.
Ooh, cool. All right, I like it. Let me pull up the stretching room real quick, and I'll
like,
jump.
oh, we were prepared. I'm like, oh wait, no, we're not.
We are not.
We were close.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It's so interesting, those sounds. I have a lot of I've read about those sounds, but my brain is not pulling up the details about them for where they came from.
So there was actually a lot of people screaming on top of that woman screaming. So
there's a lot of screaming.
Yeah, there was like 3 other people screaming very loud before we heard the audio one. You know what? I wonder if hang on, this actually might be
questions. I can save you some time. I've had
little commercial
over 30,000. I don't really.
All right.
Stay together. Take your.
Come on.
And now a carriage approaches. For $1,000. Any volunteer from creepy old crypt. Continue our little.
This is kind of interesting because there we go.
Yeah.
Found it. Should have done this ahead of time. So there you go. Her screaming and crashing through, and you hear debris fall too. It's like
debris. Yeah. Well, and so then in the Disneyland version, you're just like you're shuffled into the long hallway there. But the Disney World version, if you listen, if you kind of linger, don't annoy the cast members, but if you linger a little bit, you will start to hear the gargoyles actually whisper to you. And that does not happen in the Disney version.
One of my favorite little things to do, and I am always getting escorted a little bit faster by cast members because it's so much fun to listen to these guys talk.
Okay, so I have the recording here of what they say. Here it's. I mean, not creepy at all.
It's one of the parcel tongue. It does have a very parcel tonguey vibe to it. It's very like lispy, hissy kind of language, but it's hard to hear. Particularly, you know what? I've noticed the more crowded things have gotten, the more loud people are during pre-shows and stuff. Like there's not a lot of quiet. So it's harder
Yeah.
to experience that stuff. So if this is something that is really important to you because you love Haunted Mansion, you want to hear these gargoyles, here's the tips. Rope drop it or last ride of the night. Like get in the queue. Let's say Magic Kingdom closes at 11 o'clock, get in that queue at 10:59 and drag your feet so that you're one of the last people onto the attraction. Could you imagine being in the room alone with just a cast member and that's all you hear? And you're like, I'm sorry, I'm just going to ask you if I I need to hear this. And they'd be like, oh, you're good.
Yeah, the doors open underneath Sally Slater, the tightrope walker. That's where the doors open. So if you want to be first out, stand under her portrait. But you stand across from it, that's where you'll be the last out because that's where the doors open. So
and even though we have two separate portrait rooms, under Sally on both rooms is where the doors actually open out. So it's kind of interesting. If you go on the left, it's going to be more towards the center, like to your right. And then if you go on the right-hand side one for us, it's more to the left. So, yeah.
And also your one that is your stretch room that's to the left of the aging man actually sometimes rises crookedly. Basis the other one doesn't, but that one, so if you can watch it, sometimes the portraits don't reveal evenly on either side because there's something kind of wrong with that mechanism on that side. So you can watch for that next time you're shuffled into that room.
Kate,
only to the one to the left of the aging.
We've already run up to an hour and we're not on the ride yet. Shocker. Already on. This would be not part one,
so
not part two, but part three of the Haunted Mansion, and we have still not entered the Doom Buggies. But I will be honest with you, I do not want to rush the Sinister 11. If you've never heard of them, I do not want to rush the Changing Portraits. I do not want to rush the Gargoyle Stanchions just for an arbitrary reason to get onto a Doom Buggy. So part 19 will probably occur at some time. But like, you got to remember, there's so much to this. And even like for Kate and I feel like we both uncover some extra details along the way, which kind of excites us. So yeah, you don't think anyone minds let this series last forever. Well, for us, we probably will be ghosts. We'll look like the end of the Portrait of Dorian Gray or Master Gracie and just be like withered old skeletons as we're chatting about, I remember the piston part of the stretching room. But I feel like, yeah.
Like the April to December portrait. Like that's going to be us.
Yeah, they'll just have, right. I feel like we have to stop here, but what we should do is open it up for any kinds of questions that you guys have right now. Let them rip and answer them. I don't know if I can still pull up QAs. Can I explain the stretching room? I feel like we did a fairly decent job of that, Jill. And yeah, Michael, I'll go even for it. Haunted Mansion District, part 999, but there's always room for one more.
We're always like, it's true.
Please, like old people on episode 25. So we should age ourselves as we go through the Haunted Mansion. I do think, Kate is going to be in Disneyland when? Coming up soon, right?
Next week. So this time next week, I'll be in Disneyland.
So we're trying to link up and do some content on what day? Monday, Wednesday.
I'm not there on Monday. Wednesday.
So maybe on Wednesday we ride the Haunted Mansion together just for fun, even though like maybe we could even do a rad tea party where we ride attractions together and we try to line up times that would make sense. We'll be more on top of what we're doing and how we're going to do it. But I think that would be a really fun way to do joint. And it's really easy to do. I don't know if you've done YouTube stuff before with me or just TikTok stuff, but I don't know. I feel like we should do both. I feel like we should do side by side. Oh, you're with family too, so you can't carve away too much time. All right, we'll figure it out later.
Well, don't worry about it. I can do it enough to ride it for sure because it's my daughter, so it's not my whole family. But on Friday, I feel like since I've already prepared through the loading area, I can definitely do the portrait corridor and stuff. Like, I could probably just stand in line for Haunted Mansion. I'll give my daughter something to do. She'll be happy. And we can do the portrait corridor next Friday and the Sinister. You can talk about the Sinister 11, and I'll just wait in line for the ride and go through it as we talk. So not a problem. So
Yeah.
it'll be fun.
So yeah, I think we're going to be doing a couple of lives next week then. So we'll try to link up on Wednesday, and then I'll be here, and I'll be very jealous that you'll be there. So, which I think will be wonderful, because what better way to bring this history to life than to do the living history, because these things are not just exhibits, they're attractions. So I love that we can actually enjoy this. So
I'll get you a mint julep and some beignets. I'll enjoy them on your behalf.
Dude, you know what is so crazy to me is we've been having so many people over for beignets. I've been buying too many. Now I like come home with like extra beignets. I still have some. Guess what? As soon as we're done with this, just because you said that word, I'm gonna be cracking into some beignets as I'm doing work after, which will be delightful. By the way, beignets, they last easily 6 days in the fridge, 40 seconds on the microwave, nuke them up real quick. Make sure you get extra sauces, and you're right as rain. Are you gonna ones? You guys have banana ones right now.
Ooh, yeah. I tend to go for the classics, so I don't know. We'll have to see what I'm feeling up to.
I saw Jose and Skip grabbed them last time. Well, I don't know. It's probably like 2 weeks ago. But yeah, it's like, I don't know, but it's like kind of themed towards the Jungle Cruise.
I know. I love the Jungle Cruise, as you know.
How do you know?
I have to do that. I know. And I'm also trying to let it be. It's my solo trip with my youngest daughter, so I'm trying to let her do what she wants to do as much as possible too, and eat what she wants to eat. So maybe I'll ask her, and she'll let me know which one she wants, and we'll go from there.
So, was there any talk of how the location was selected by the river? We talked about it a little bit last week. In particular, ours is kind of that northeastern Hudson River Valley / kind of like coastal town. It's more coastal town. It just happens to be by the rivers of America, considering that Kate has uncovered in the blueprints that it was always called the Seawall, which I still want to wholeheartedly believe, especially with the Liberty Bell having a sailboat, as well as on the top of Columbia Harbor House. And I believe even Memento Mori has a weather vane that has a nautical vessel on top of it. So I'm going to go with that. Gargoyles, do they have names? Great question. I don't know if any of them have names. I've never looked it up. I'm sure the cast members
official names.
Right.
Yeah. Cast members probably have given them names, but yeah, because just like the cast members, the maids will give names to their the bats on their hats. They're not hats, but their headpieces. They'll give names to them, but they make them themselves.
That's I would love to be a maid or a butler. Like it would be a long time, because yeah, I wouldn't care. Like what a fun that would be one. That being a skipper on the Jungle Cruise, being a safari driver would be amazing. The gargoyles appear in the stretching room. They're perched above, stare down. They're grinning at Magic Kingdom and Phantom Manor. After Phantom Manor does the whispering too.
Yes, they do. Yeah,
which is very cool.
We haven't really gotten to all of the other ones. I feel like that's going to be its own episode of going over the differences of all the international ones. It's just there's so many details we could get lost, because the Phantom Manor itself is like a whole different one, and Shanghai with the Mystic Manor, like their own storylines.
And there are 8, because this is an octagonal room. So on each one of the corners is located a gargoyle. And the portraits are in the same order, as far as I know, in terms of where they're positioned on the walls for the stretching room. That's a good question too. So yeah.
As far as I know, they're the same. And we did talk about the.
Well, I mean, do you have your video up real quick? Because I can pull this picture. Remember, your video is from Disneyland, and this still shot is from Disney World. If we can see 3 pictures in the frame, or even 2 pictures in the frame, that'll be good enough for us to put that one to bed. Yep, I got 3 pictures in the frame. So I go. All right. So on ours, it's Dynamite, then Bowler. This could be reversed, so it's kind of hard to tell. But next to Dynamite is no, they're in different orders. They're in different orders because Bowler's over here and Dynamite.
I wonder if they're
Bowler.
reversed within the mansion itself, because Florida, if you think of the exit door both being under the tightrope walker, I wonder if they're not the same even in Florida, like they're rotated.
Yeah, but who cares about
order?
But the rotation is way different because we are now, if your Dynamite is here and your Bowler is here, here's our Dynamite and our Bowler is here. Because yours was right next to, there's Dynamite and then Bowler comes right next. See what I'm saying?
That's interesting.
Ours is Dynamite, Umbrella, and Constance. So it still went Constance, Dynamite, but this is where our Bowler should be if we matched yours. It does not. We have Umbrella or Tightroper and up here. So
what I'll do, I'm going to Disneyland.
Yeah.
I'm going to Disneyland next week. Hopefully, if we go in the same time, we can do it side by side and swing it around and see what it looks like too.
Yeah, I'm going to be, I'll be in Batu for the morning, and then I'm going to head over to Magic Kingdom, and I'm going to stack some lightning lanes for later on in the afternoon, and we'll figure out, just you and I can talk offline about what attractions maybe and timelines roughly, and see if we can line up something.
That sounds perfect. That'll be fun. Side by side live. Those are the best.
They are, dude. I still look at, you posted that video, which was a download, which I have to download because it's just so cool. One of the neatest things ever is looking down Main Street, down Fantasylands. Like who does that? It's so cool.
When the parade started coming at the same time, that was like magic. Like we didn't plan that. It was just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we don't plan a lot of things clearly. Like, oh, we put down. Awful. We'll get better. You know, by part 29 of the Haunted Mansion, we'll figure this out.
Well, at least we're real. We're honest. This is just us.
It's yeah, you know, it's
that's what you get.
The best way I could say it is you get what you paid for.
Yes. So true.
All right. Kate, you got anything else? Otherwise, this is going to go up on YouTube. Kate, are you putting this up on a podcast anywhere?
I think I will get to that. I have to get past, like I'm a mom, so it's May. Moms know May is like activity month, so I got to get past May. But this summer, I hope to get all of these up in a podcast so that you guys can go back and listen and watch if you're interested in learning, or if you missed an episode. But if you don't want to wait that long, head over to Kirk's YouTube because he's got them posted there.
Yeah, I'll take this once TikTok renders it. I'll be able to pull it off of this and put it right onto YouTube by tomorrow morning, and then we'll post it in our Discord. If you want to follow the Discord, walruscarp.com/links. It's the second one. If you don't know what Discord is, don't be afraid. It's just basically a bunch of chat rooms where a lot of people want to help you learn more about Disney World, Disneyland, all of those things. Ooh, under the sea, under the sea. Thank you for that choral, brother. Appreciate that.
I didn't see the gift, so I was like, what are you doing?
Oh, no. Michael has thrown like very elaborate, majestic-y choral reef vibe under there. So I just wanted to thank him so much for making me feel a part of his world. Look at this stuff. Isn't it neat?
I do have a link to the Discord as well in my links for my bio. So if you click on that link, there is a link for the Discord in there. So if anyone's going to my channel, it's there as well.
And if you're following Kate right now, the easiest way to go and follow her is just click her name over here. For her, she would do the reflexive of that. And then right, exactly. You go that. It reminds me a lot of Alice in Wonderland. Like, well, some people do it. Or you for the shortcut. And DisneyCicerone.com and WalrusCarp.com for all your theme park clothing. And am I missing anything else?
No, this is really looking forward to seeing all of you guys next week. I'm really grateful that you guys tuned in today. So you find us on Wednesday for sure for that side-by-side live to see Disneyland and Disney World at the same time, because it's really wild and really fun. And then we'll be back next Friday with some more distillery and I'll be in Disneyland. And we'll tour the Haunted Mansion and talk the Portrait Corridor and the Sinister 11, and it'll be great.
Yeah, love that.
Maybe we'll get on the ride. We'll see.
And Jackie did mention too, in July, we're going to obviously have to record a ton of content while we're doing your Carpe Diem together for, while we do Keys of the Kingdom, or Keys to the Kingdom, which Alicia was so kind enough to hook us up with, because you're going to get a bunch of losers with pad and pen and cameras taking lots and lots of content. So
Dis nerds. It's great.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that'll be an amazing day in July 11th. So you guys won't want to miss us chatting about that tour. We're really excited to go on that one. So
yeah,
lots of great things coming up. I'm so excited.
Yep. Thank you, Chris, for the rose, and thank you, Ginge, for the fire. Ooh, that was hot. So, all right, we need to have a good tagline out. Like, I feel like I have a okay intro in. It's got to get a little bit better. We'll get there. But until next week, you guys stay foolish, mortals.
Look alive.
Look, I actually like all of this. All right, I'll see you guys later and have a great weekend. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks for hanging with us. Bye.